The basement was frigid, and Kimberly struggled to breathe. Her hands were bound, rendering her unable to call for help. Footsteps echoed down the stairs, and 3 figures loomed over her, whispering anxiously. One of them struck a match, and within moments, the small flame transformed into a raging fire. By night's end, there would be no ransom, no escape, only a horrific crime that would leave a family shattered and a community in shock. Kimberly Antonakos was born on November 15, 1974, in Queens, New York. As the only child of Tommy Antonakos, a successful tech executive, and his wife Marlene, she enjoyed a loving upbringing despite her parents' eventual divorce. Known as Kim to her friends, she blossomed into a beautiful and charismatic young woman with a vibrant social life. After earning a degree in business administration, she settled into an apartment in Brooklyn, close to her father's home, while her mother moved to Florida. As the cherished daughter, Kim received abundant love and support. To celebrate her independence, Tommy gifted her a new car, a symbol of his pride. However, Kim was determined to forge her own path, taking a part-time job as an accountant instead of joining the family business. At 20, she seemed to have it all: young, beautiful, and promising. Years later, her father would reflect on how Kim's kindness, while her greatest strength, also made her vulnerable. This became evident in early 1995 when she welcomed her friend Liz's boyfriend Joshua Torres, and their young child into her home during their apartment renovations. Joshua, just 2 years older than Kim, quickly formed a bond with her. The trio spent their days cooking and laughing together. Despite Tommy's concerns, he respected his daughter's choice. On February 28, 1995, Kimberly and Liz attended a party, dressing up and enjoying a night of dancing. They returned home around 4 a.m. The following day, Tommy called to check on Kim but received no answer. Uneasy, he drove to her apartment, where he found Liz but no sign of Kimberly. Liz was confused, claiming she had last seen Kim entering her bedroom. Tommy noticed Kimberly's car was missing and found a single gold earring on the floor, instantly recognizing it as one of a pair he had given her. Without delay, he reported her disappearance, prompting an urgent police investigation. Officers interviewed Liz, who confirmed Kimberly had worn those earrings the night before. Fearing the worst, the lead detective theorized that Kimberly had been abducted, possibly for her car. Authorities issued a citywide alert with her description and contacted aviation officials to search areas known for abandoned vehicles. As hours passed, worry consumed her loved ones. That evening, Tommy returned home to find his answering machine blinking. His heart raced as he pressed play, only to hear silence. 2 calls had come in, both abruptly ending. Meanwhile, investigators scoured hospital and morgue records with no results. Friends and neighbors, including Liz and Joshua, were questioned, but no leads emerged. After 48 hours without a trace of Kimberly, Marlene flew in from Florida, desperate for answers. A friend suggested consulting a well-known psychic. Clutching a photo of her daughter, Marlene visited the psychic, who assured her that Kimberly was alive but in grave danger. Chillingly, she mentioned that the perpetrator's name began with the letter J. As Kimberly's case gained public attention, Marlene gathered her daughter's friends to listen to the psychic's recording. Joshua and another friend, Julio Negron, reacted with visible unease before leaving, claiming they would search for Kimberly themselves. Meanwhile, Tommy retraced his daughter's steps, speaking with anyone who might have seen her. Police meticulously reconstructed Kimberly's last known movements and re-examined her apartment, finding no signs of forced entry or struggle, no blood, no overturned furniture. It appeared someone had cleaned up or the intruder had been careful. Adding to the mystery, Kimberly's car had vanished without a trace. Investigators checked her bank records, discovering her credit card had last been used the night of the party, ruling out the possibility of her running away. With no new leads, authorities turned to the psychic's claims. She insisted Kimberly was being held by 4 people who wanted to make contact, warning that time was running out. As tensions mounted, everyone close to Kimberly came under scrutiny, yet the truth remained elusive. Investigators discovered 65 calls had been made from Kimberly's home phone on the morning of March 1st. Joshua explained he had made the calls, trying to reach Kimberly's friends to find out where she had spent the night. With Liz's help, authorities documented what Kimberly was last seen wearing and created a composite sketch highlighting her distinguishing tattoos. On March 4th, firefighters responded to a call about a fire in an abandoned house in Queens. Once the flames were extinguished, they made a horrifying discovery in the basement: a burned, bound, and gagged body. Forensic experts determined the remains belonged to a woman in her early 20s. Strands of long black hair survived the fire, and traces of duct tape were found on the arms and legs. Most chillingly, she had been alive when the fire started. As forensic teams sifted through the ashes and analyzed dental records, it became evident the fire had been deliberately set. The strong scent of gasoline and the staged nature of the scene confirmed it was arson. Eventually, dental analysis confirmed the worst fears. The remains belonged to Kimberly. The lead detective was devastated upon receiving the confirmation, as were Kimberly's parents, Tommy and Marlene. The brutal nature of her death sent shockwaves through the city, making headlines across major newspapers. Even in a place notorious for violent crimes, Kimberly's murder stood out for its cruelty. Her funeral was attended by many loved ones, including Liz and Joshua. As the case garnered significant attention, the investigation hit a wall. Determined to find his daughter's killer, Tommy offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. He stationed himself outside Kimberly's old apartment building, questioning residents and searching for clues. This pursuit consumed him, turning into an all-encompassing mission. Months passed, leaving Tommy haunted by unanswered questions. In July, a young man arrested for burglary provided police with a shocking lead, claiming to have overheard an acquaintance bragging about Kimberly's murder. The person named was Joshua. Intrigued, investigators called Joshua in for questioning. He denied any involvement, but let slip a comment about feeding Kimberly if he had been her captor. This statement raised alarms, as no public mention had been made of Kimberly suffering from starvation or dehydration. With suspicions mounting, detectives dug deeper into Joshua's past, uncovering a history of criminal activity. At the time of Kimberly's disappearance, he was unemployed and living off his girlfriend's income, giving him ample time to plan a crime. Investigators noted Joshua's familiarity with Kimberly's routines and questioned why there had been no ransom demand. As they analyzed his phone records, they found blatant lies in his statements. Further digging revealed cryptic messages sent by Joshua on March 1st. As law enforcement tightened their grip, they reached out to Julio, who confessed and cooperated fully, leading authorities to identify 2 other potential accomplices: Jose Neon and Nicola Liti, a known figure in the criminal underworld. With 4 suspects, all with names starting with J, the case took a chilling turn. Within hours, both Joshua and Nicola were arrested. Nicola had an extensive criminal record, while Jose had already become a victim of a fatal shooting, likely orchestrated by Joshua to eliminate any potential betrayal. During questioning, Joshua denied everything, while Nicola backed Julio's version of events. The grim truth emerged. Joshua had devised a plan to kidnap Kimberly and extort her father for $775,000. They confined her in a freezing basement, bound and gagged. Their plan unraveled due to incompetence, and when they failed to contact Tommy for the ransom, panic set in. In a horrific decision, Joshua and his accomplices returned to the basement, doused Kimberly in gasoline, and set her on fire. Julio was later charged as an accessory, while Joshua and Nicola faced first-degree murder charges. When Tommy learned of the arrests, he expressed that they brought him little solace. On live television, he shared his anguish, revealing that he had imagined taking justice into his own hands, but ultimately his daughter was gone forever. During Joshua's trial in November 1996, he maintained his innocence and refused to testify. After a swift trial, the jury found him guilty. At his sentencing hearing, he offered condolences to the Antonakos family, describing Kimberly as a precious jewel. As he spoke, Kimberly's mother broke down in tears, leaning on her ex-husband for support. For 9 excruciating minutes, the courtroom was filled with grief. The judge sentenced Joshua to at least 58 years in prison, stating that had the death penalty been reinstated in New York earlier, he would have imposed it without hesitation. Tommy felt the punishment was far too lenient. Nicola was tried the following year and received the same sentence. Julio, as an accomplice, received a 6-year prison sentence for his role in the crime. The story of Kimberly Antonakos serves as a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk within those closest to us.